Password?
Lunch meat.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, wait, thank you.
Buy the cheap shit again. It tastes like this.
Hey, man, you don't drink water.
Look at these two fucking ass clowns walking in like they own the place.
Doing a show here.
Goddamn millennials. Welcome to the Yancy St Speakeasy, episode number 22. I'm Max.
And I'm Tracey.
And this is our second attempt at recording this episode. The first one we got a few minutes in, and it stopped recording, and we talked for
Because Max got a cell phone call because he's Mr. Popular, and it stopped the whole recording process.
The worst part about it is that the call was telemarketer for sure. You know, you just start to know, you could just recognize. And so I didn't answer the call, didn't want to answer the call, but thanks Apple for forwarding all my calls to my computer. So it stopped the recording process. But okay, so
That's why I switched to PC.
you switched to PC?
Yes, just while we were talking. I got so frustrated with the fact that Apple did that to you that I threw my computer out and got a new PC.
You had it. I had Amazon Insta deliver it. Did the drone fly through your window?
This is one of my favorite. There's a meme about that. It's one of my favorites. It's like FedEx is like, all right, Bob will be at your house at 12:52 p.m. And then it went down to USPS, and they're like, you ordered a package, and then Amazon's just like, we're inside your house. So that's pretty much how it go.
They're there waiting for you with the lights off when you get home.
Yeah, they brought a swivel chair with them, and a lamp, just so they can swivel around and turn the light on when you come in.
Okay, so today's episode, we are going to be talking about Game of Thrones for our main topic. We also have a little game per usual for the end, and we're going to do some news as well. So I think the first thing we're going to talk about is news about our podcast. A couple things. First of all, I have bitten the bullet and gone a little bit more social. So I've started us a Twitter account and a Facebook page, so that instead of emailing maxdean or maxwelldean@maxdean.org, see, I can't even remember it. You can still do that, but you can also send us a tweet at Yancy St Pod, or you can comment or send us a message at the Yancy St Speakeasy on Facebook. So now we are out there for you to contact.
Yeah, we're out there. Mark Zuckerberg has all our information now, and so we're connected.
Honestly, I want a personal
Instagram
message
is
from him.
Still Viva La Franc. That's Viva La France, but the E is replaced by a 3. And I've been less active on my Instagram. I've posted some original artwork, some D&D characters that I've created, and I went to see Dave Matthews Band this summer, so I drew some pictures of him, because it's fuck you. And then after that, I don't really have anything else to say on Instagram. I'll try to be better about posting on it, but I've been very busy because I've been substitute teaching lately. I was a gym class teacher yesterday, and that was super fun.
Cool.
I got paid to play kickball and soccer, and that's a good feeling.
So you can find us on Twitter, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram, mostly Tracey. So another thing is that I think actually next week is going to be our first ever episode where we have a guest host. So
that's so exciting.
We'll let you know about that, but I think that we are going to be doing the Toxic Avenger. Is our main theme.
What a treat.
B-movie heaven. All right,
it was atrocious. I'd never seen it before, and then Max suggested I watch it.
All right, we're not allowed to talk about it until the official Toxic Avenger episode.
It was really good. I loved it. Class A. It's 95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I couldn't believe how high the budget was for that film. All right.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a little bit of news about comic book movies and some video games and stuff that we have already said once. So, first of all, let's talk about Spider-Man Far From Home. Looks like they are going to be definitely having Maria Hill and Nick Fury in the film. We kind of knew that before, but we have actual images released of them on set. We have some more locations. They had images of London and Venice before, but now I guess they are shooting in Prague as well, and they may be doing even more cities in Europe.
Cool. That's awesome. I'm excited to see a globetrotting Spider-Man adventure.
Yeah, I think that they were thinking maybe we've seen Spider-Man swing through New York City a lot, and it's something that they kind of avoided in Spider-Man Homecoming. You know, he did a little bit, but honestly, for the most part, you didn't get a ton of visuals of that because we've gotten 5 movies where that's a lot of what you're looking at, and I think they thought maybe it would be kind of cool to see him swing through some 1,000-year-old buildings and swing through some, you know, cities that are architecturally very, very different, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would be something fresh for him, especially. I mean, I'm not saying it was that they kept him like in Queens, the length of the original Spider-Man movie, but because I actually loved that we had like a grounded, friendly neighborhood, not saving the world sort of deal Spider-Man, and then now he seems to be graduating to a more international superhero, and it seems like with the growing rogues gallery of villains, we're getting some dope Sinister Six action.
Yeah, I think that they already have maybe 4 or 5 villains that are going to be appearing in this movie. I'm not sure how many of them are going to play a prominent role or just have a scene.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe just, you know, a small little arc, but they're definitely bringing back Michael Keaton as the Vulture. There have been a lot of talks about Jake Gyllenhaal playing Mysterio. They've had, I think there was a report that the Mysterio character is going to be under the employ of someone else trying to steal some things in some way, and I think one of the other things is that people have been making a lot of assumptions that Spider-Man Far From Home is going to take place after Avengers 4, which is definitely possible, but I think that they are not going to want to release marketing and trailers for this movie if it takes away any of the tension from Avengers 4. So exactly. I have a feeling that when we actually see the trailer for this movie, which will inevitably come out before Avengers, that we're going to see that they are actually going to take place, that this film is going to take place before that film in the timeline. So,
I think that would be a smart idea to kind of keep that up, because I know a lot of people who just kind of groaned when they saw the release date for the new Spider-Man movie, and it's like, well, obviously he survives Infinity War because there's another movie, and I'm like, well, you don't know.
Well, I think that Marvel Studios knew exactly what they wanted to do. That's why they weren't going to release the names of any movies until afterwards. But I think because Spider-Man is Sony, they weren't quite as on the same page for that, and someone from Sony has said in the past that Spider-Man Far From Home takes place like seconds or minutes after Avengers 4, but that was quite a while ago. I mean, that was before they probably didn't even have the script completely finished at that point, because Spider-Man is only shooting right now. So it's definitely very plausible that they've made some changes.
Right. It wouldn't surprise me. I think that was kind of premature of people to sort of assume that it would take place after Infinity War anyway, because you're sort of like not giving credit to the studio, and they're obviously very with it. They've been planning all this stuff from the get-go, so I don't think that would be like the big slip up that they would have. I'm sure that they have everything, a place for everything and everything in its place. All that good stuff. I will be interested to see if and how they use Mysterio. I mean, it seems like they've been promoting him a lot. It seems like he's going to be a bit of the primary villain in that, and I love him as a villain. He's a master of. He's a hypnotist, and he's a master of all these special effects. Like he's a stunt man. I would be interested to see that sort of thing where Spider-Man gets turned into a societal menace, because a lot of story arcs regarding Mysterio have him impersonating Spider-Man at various points to try to sully his good name. There's a lot you can do with the character.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. I want to see characters that we haven't seen before. I want to see iterations of villains that really can come off well in live action. You know what I really want to see? I want to see Venom and Spider-Man. I want to see that interaction, because Tom Holland does such a nice job with it that I honestly think that he would be able to play off of this iteration of Venom if it's good, if it is successful. I want to see them integrate.
Yeah, completely agree. It would be so cool to see. Like, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna get that anytime soon, if at all. But I mean, that character dynamic is so perfect and integral to Spider-Man's like psyche and makeup. And I just, I mean, that's the ideal right there. Is to get a movie where like this innocent, adorable little Peter Parker gets influenced by that nasty symbiote, and all hell breaks loose. But I mean, I'm excited for what's happening right now.
I think it'll be really cool if they kind of tiptoe around it, where they have a Venom movie, and then they have Spider-Man movie where there are a number of different villains, and then in the next Venom movie, he's interacting with the same villains played by those same actors, where he is going up against them for whatever reason, or they are seeking him out to try and use the symbiote because it's clearly very powerful. So he actually has interactions with characters from Spider-Man's world, but they don't go straight to Spider-Man. And then I think it would be really cool if in the third Venom movie, or however they do it, if they actually cross them over somehow. I think that would be a really cool way to go about it. Not like, okay, Venom was good, let's get Spider-Man in there right now. Like, let's build towards it. If it's good, then show us that they're in the same world through connectivity. Don't just like throw them together immediately. So that's what I want.
Yeah, I feel that. I think what we should do is just give everybody a symbiote, because I mean, like, just give everybody a symbiote to mess with. Iron Man gets a symbiote, Groot gets a symbiote, Captain America gets a symbiote. Let's do it.
Yeah,
I mean, that actually basically happened in one. There was, I think it was from a year or so back. The symbiote invaded somehow got aboard, or they were transporting it to the Galaxy ship, and it took turn like taking over each one of them. Like they had a big battle inside the camp. They're all beating the crap out of each other because the symbiote was like taking over them one by one.
I feel like I've seen images of that. I definitely never read the comic. I think that there's a little bit where Wolverine has a symbiote, and but I think they kind of overdid it with the symbiotes. I think they're a really cool idea, but
there's too many.
Yeah, I think some of the stuff that I've read about how they go into the mythology of the symbiotes and what their planet is like, I think that stuff is kind of cool, but you don't have, if you want to delve backwards into that or deeper into that, you don't necessarily have to take something that worked really well for Spider-Man and then give every hero a turn with the symbiote, because that just becomes kind of repetitive. And
I know. I was being stupid.
No, I know you were joking. I just mean that they've actually done stuff like that, and I think those are the kinds of things where the movies are going to have done and will continue to do a good job of taking the cool parts of Marvel Comics and omitting the stuff that's kind of campy and looking and saying, hey, this was good, that was too much, or that was nonsensical, and really picking out the good stuff and maybe altering it slightly so that it fits the story. And so I don't know, I think it'll be good.
I think it will be too.
Okay, so Captain Marvel news, which is
Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Yeah, Captain Marvel news. I mean, 2 days ago. At this time, I don't know what it'll be by the time you guys are listening to this. 2 days ago, Brie Larson made a comment about, "Hey, Entertainment Weekly, let's break the internet. I'm bored," or something like that. And then the next day, we got like a full cover of her on the front of Entertainment Weekly in her really, really badass looking Captain Marvel outfit, and we got a bunch of on-site screenshots. We see a two-eyed Samuel L. Jackson playing a young Nick Fury, who I guess is still a desk jockey at S.H.I.E.L.D. I think they said they're not doing an origin story.
Yeah, that's what I'm most interested about, honestly.
Yeah. She just has her powers. Like they're just jumping into it. She already has her powers. She's already somehow part Kree, part human. She's a pilot, and she's in what's the group that she's in?
I just read about it. I want to say that it's Star Force. Does that sound right?
Star Force sounds right.
But we also have images of the Skrulls as well. We actually saw them.
Yes, we do. Yeah, she's already like in there. She's got her power. She's a force to be reckoned with. She's part of Star Force. They were mentioning they showed a oh yeah, you're right. Elite Kree military team called Star Force. And they showed some of the other folks in there. I am not as familiar with the extraterrestrial Marvel universe, so I do not know who those other folks in there are.
I am not sure either, to be honest. I'm very curious, because how are they going to seamlessly just step in? I mean, so I don't know if you've seen, I don't think it was supposed to be released to the public, but at one of the conventions, they had a quick little snippet of Brie Larson waking up in what looks like a spaceship and like kind of getting ready for her day, getting suited up. And the CG was not totally finished. It looked interesting, and at first I kind of thought it was a fan-made thing, but no, it's actually that. So I'm curious how they're going to just seamlessly walk into her already being part of that, and how are they going to... Because, that's the thing. With Spider-Man, it's fine. You don't have to show us, because we've seen it twice. We've had 5 films of Spider-Man. Most of us from this generation have seen the Spider-Man TV show.
Yeah. I mean, like it's like a well-worn like superhero trope at this point, is getting bitten by a radioactive something.
Yeah, but like Captain Marvel's backstory is actually more complicated, and it's not clear-cut in the comics. Like, depending on which iteration or which writer you're reading, there are different ways that it happened, and
I wasn't super clear on how she actually got her powers, because you said something about like her unit like sharing like a power pool, and then when the rest of her unit dies, she gets all of that strength or something.
No, that I was talking about Nova Corps with that.
Oh.
But so the way that it worked with her is that the original Captain Marvel, who is the character that Jude Law is playing, he comes to Earth in disguise. His name is Mar-Vell, and he's full-on Kree. And and something happens. It gets hazier every month, but if something happens to him where he defends Earth from other aliens, and she rescues him or he rescues her, and some accident happens and her DNA is infused with his DNA, and she becomes Miss Marvel. And it's not until later that she takes up the mantle of Captain Marvel, but the power set that she gets originally stems from that. And she's the very next Captain Marvel. And then after that, there's another one as well. Maybe there's even two more, I'm not sure, but
that's interesting. So what happened in the interim where they're having like Marvel defending Earth, they're having the Star Force of Kree soldiers and like being all badass and whatnot, and then we see the Kree from the Guardians of the Galaxy where they've become like fanatics and they're trying to wreak havoc on Xandar and everything.
Well, there is a history in the Kree Empire of mixing their DNA with species from other planets. So I mean, I think that they may just be like, hey, one of the ways that we're keeping peace in the universe is by going around and getting each different planet to have one person, because it looked to me that the Star Force was made up of not just Kree in this particular instance. It looked like there was a few different species, so
it's interesting. Well, I mean, I think they did use the term the Kree purists. Didn't they?
Right.
Did they not in the Guardians? So that might be maybe it's like a racial, like a eugenics sort of thing.
Well, that's kind of who Ronan the Accuser is. He's the one that believes that the Kree are Aryan, so to speak, that they are the ultimate species, and anyone who affronts them it's kind of a holy war, is the way that he looks at it. Like he's a religious,
violating a natural order by like messing with them.
Yeah, and so he's basically a religious fanatic. That's who Ronan the Accuser is. That's what his character is all about. And
that's true.
He in the comics, he would travel to different planets and judge their worthiness to continue to exist. And I'm pretty sure that at least in one of the original Captain Marvel comics, he comes to Earth, and Marvel is the one who convinces him that humans deserve to continue living instead of dying. So he comes and he accuses you of being unworthy, and you have to prove that you are worthy. And so I think that's kind of a little bit of what we're going to see, but also they're doing a little secret invasion where the Skrulls come undercover to Earth and impersonate some of the important people in our government. And the Skrulls and the Kree have had a centuries or millennia long war going on. They hate each other, and
right.
So it's hard to say because I'm not an expert in the comics, at least as far as this particular.
Yeah,
like I don't know that much about it, and also they're gonna change it in the movies, so it's really hard to speculate. But I'm curious.
I think what you're saying works with it, because in the images that you do see a baby Ronan the Accuser. Like I recognize the mallet, so I think your speculations aren't too far off, because I was like, whoa, what's he doing back? I missed that guy.
Yeah, he is definitely in the movie. Ronan the Accuser is in the movie. I don't know how much. I think that he'll probably play a pretty substantial role. I think that he may be at odds with the Star Force. Like, the Star Force might be part of an offshoot of the Kree Empire that is more in line with intergalactic community, whereas he's kind of part of a faction of the Kree Empire that's pro-Kree only. and I think that they may come to Earth because of the Skrulls, and I don't know, and then Ronan may be coming to Earth because of them. I'm honestly not sure, but we'll find out. I'm very curious. I think Clark Gregg, who plays Phil Coulson, posted something about 15 a little while ago, and so people have been speculating that either meant that in 15 days we were going to get a trailer, or on September 15th we're going to get a trailer. So either way, it's either in the next day or two, I think was 15 days, or September 15th is about a week away. So we'll see.
Oh, awesome. Yay. Okay, cool. I'm very excited for this movie. All right. Do we want to jump into Game of Thrones, or did you want to talk about some more stuff that we had listened to or seen recently?
Well, let's see. I think that one of the things that I had brought up a little bit more naturally, but when we thought we were recording, but we were really just talking to each other, was the Serial podcast.
Yes.
Which, because you had said something about the new Jack Ryan, and
yes,
it made me think about the first season of Serial, and Serial is going to be releasing season 3 shortly here. They just gave us a little preview, but what Serial is a very, very well done podcast done by some folks from NPR, and basically it's an investigative journalist who delves pretty deep into some really interesting stories. The first one she does for season 1 is about a high schooler whose name is Adnan Syed, and he was accused and imprisoned for the murder of his ex-girlfriend. But there is some evidence that may not have been how it went down.
Damn.
I can't say for sure either way. I don't want to give too much away about the podcast, but it's really, really interesting. So, and that happened years back. So he's been in prison this whole time, and so she gets in contact with him, and she goes and she interviews a lot of the people that knew him back then, and gets different versions of the story, and it's really interesting. And then in season 2, she delves deeply into the story of this American Army officer or he was a Marine actually, I think, but he was in Afghanistan and he defected for whatever reason, and the reason for him defecting is part of the story, and he ends up getting captured by Al-Qaeda and held prisoner, and then once the U.S. finally gets him back, they're trying to decide whether he should be on trial and go to prison for defecting. So it's interesting. It's, you're a prisoner of opposing forces for a long time, and then you come back to your own country, and then you go to prison. So it's, depending on what your opinion is, it's interesting either way, really. But so season 3 looks like it's going to be really interesting as well. But I'll let you all go check it out, look it up.
Yeah, and and he mentioned Jack Ryan as well. It's a fantastic new Amazon Prime original series starring John Krasinski, who is an action guy now, who I also saw really recently in A Quiet Place, which was an excellent horror movie. Very, very well done. It's got a lot of heart, and is basically John Krasinski, Emily Blunt writing a love letter to their children saying, "We will do anything for you."
Don't spoil it. I want to see it.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And then Jack Ryan is, it's the 4th iteration of him, I think, 5th maybe. He's a recurring Tom Clancy character, a CIA analyst who gets himself into all sorts of international disputes. This one has to do with a mix of international and homegrown terrorism that John Krasinski's character is he's like a money's guy, but he notices all these weird sort of transactions going on, and it turns into this whole espionage terrorism thriller. But it really paints terrorism and Islamic radical terrorism in a new way, because it does a great job of showing both the quote-unquote good guys and bad guys as sympathetic characters, and what the Islamic radicals went through, like the racism and the hardships that they went through that caused them to turn to such a radical means of resistance and sending a message. And just wow, what a fantastic show so far. I can't wait to see what happens. It moves at a breakneck pace, and the action is like so intense. Also, another reason, Max was telling me that he wanted to get the podcast done today because the Spider-Man PS4 launch is going to be midnight tonight. I have it loaded. I am ready. Once midnight hits, I am turning that on, and nobody's going to pull me away from that television, because my boy, my man, I'm so excited.
It's basically the marriage of two of your favorite things in the world.
Yep, video games and Spider-Man. I cannot wait. I've been trying to keep myself away from computer screens because all the pre-launch reviews and spoilers are out, and so I've been doing my best because I want it to be a fresh, virgin experience for me. Very nice.
So
yes.
One of the reasons that we've been struggling a little bit to keep the podcast as regular as I would like is because, yes, I have a lot of things going on in my life, but one of those things is a new job, which I've just started last week, and it is what I am going to do tonight for work, and we have just opened up a brand new craft cocktail bar in a hotel down here, yes. So, Tracey, I know this is right up your alley, but
hell yeah.
So basically, we mix high-end cocktails where we make all our own juices, all our own syrups.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, my favorite cocktail on our specialty drink list, which are all fresh takes on classic cocktails, is the Sazerac, which is 1 part cognac, 1 part rye whiskey, with I actually have this nice little golden spritz bottle, which spritzes absinthe. It's for an absinthe wash. Yeah, and so it is absolutely delicious. Everything is so elegant, so
cognac.
Refined. Yes.
Cognac, whiskey, and absinthe?
Yep.
That's the cocktail?
It's so good.
What? How? That sounds like it would taste like straight battery acid.
Oh my god, you have no idea. I can't wait for you to get down here and check it out. Tracey says he may be coming back to Key West in the near future, so he'll definitely have to swing by. I have Diplomatico. I have like the 3 or 4 different Diplomatico. I have some of my favorite rum Zacapa. I have just an incredible amount of stuff. I have Basil Hayden. I have all of my favorites there. The Bullet Rye whiskey. I've got.
You had me at Diplomatico. That's
I have a wheatgrass vodka, or a bison grass vodka, excuse me, from Poland, which is incredible.
My uncle has a lot of friends in Poland. He's fluent in Polish, and he brings bison back for us every time he goes.
Really?
Yeah, this stuff's good.
So let's see what else. So that is new in my life, and so that has been keeping me extremely busy because I am still doing the tapas restaurant, but now I am learning all about these craft cocktails, which I vaguely knew about, but now I need to know how to make them on the regular, and we have to come up with new ones. Last night I was responsible for coming up with a fresh take on a classic cocktail known as the Grasshopper, and it was a big hit.
Grasshoppers.
So I make a fantastic grasshopper now. So
what do you use creme de coco and creme de menthe in that one?
Yeah, because you still have to use a lot of the original ingredients, but you have to come up with something new and exciting and something that's like.
I usually turn that into like a straight up like mint chocolate chip milkshake.
So what I do is you'll see when you come, but I have all kinds of fire accoutrements to play with there. So I actually roast a marshmallow in front of the customer, as one of the finishing touches and pour the drink over the roasted marshmallow into the glass. It looks really cool, and it's so good.
Ugh. Damn. I am drooling right now. Oh, that sounds
Too
amazing.
bad you can't have any carbs.
We actually gave up on that because we did it for 3 weeks, and you need about 14, 15 days to get into ketosis, and none of us saw any results. So we bought these test kit to see if how many ketones are in our body, and we took the test, and it says yeah, you're not even like in ketosis yet. And we're like, what are you talking about? I've been like drinking like fats and oils, like trying to like follow it to the T, and it said like, yeah, you're not doing it right. And I'm like, well, screw this. I feel gross now. So I'm just going to go back to my old standby of if I work out enough, I can eat whatever the hell I want.
I think that's fair, you know. I mean, just eating quality food is probably one of the most important things in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's not that it has to be low carb. It's not that it has to be low sugar.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you don't want to go crazy with that. But low fat, the quality of the food is important, and the amount of activity in your lifestyle is important. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yep. If you gotta burn. If you want to lose weight, you gotta burn more than you put in your body. That's all there is to it. And I just gotta say, God damn it, did I miss bread? Bread and French fries. Oh, that was like my 3 biggest vices are like French fries, beer, and ice cream. So when I cut, like I was like so angry. I was irritated all the time. Like the first week of keto, like I was just lashing out at everybody. It was like, fuck you, I want beer. Fuck you, I want ice cream. I felt really bad.
I would struggle without carbs, honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly, so.
Well, you don't need to do any diets. You just exist and like burn calories.
I mean, I work a lot. I've always had a naturally high metabolism, but
yeah,
my work is not sitting behind a desk, and I work a lot. So, I mean, I just kind of naturally am burning calories. I don't know what I would look like if I did just eat this way and sit behind a desk, but I guess we'll never find out.
No, we'll never find out because you're doomed to work like a dog for the rest of your life.
Great.
Yes, that's I have decreed.
That's
depressing. Depressing. That's awesome, dude. That sounds like an amazing job, though. I'm really
pumped, and there's a lot of reasons that it's good. I mean, it's growth. I missed bartending. I think I mentioned on the podcast before that I did a little guest spot bartending at the bar I used to work for, and I really enjoyed it, and I missed it. And you know, they have other people there now, so I couldn't just walk back in and start taking shifts away from people. But then this sort of fell into my lap, and I'm psyched about it. So I'm going to be there tonight, mixing up some more cocktails. It is the slow season right now, so it's not too crazy. It's giving us time to perfect all of our recipes, and we have a bunch of specialty cocktails, and then, of course, we want to have a good grasp on all the classics as well. So
nice.
all the ones that if you walk into a bar, we want to be ready with whatever. Okay, so anyway, now on to, I guess, the main topic. We're going to talk about Game of Thrones.
Yeah. I mean, is there any other topic? When does it? I know it comes out in 2019. It comes out. Does it come out in January 2019?
No, I think that they're doing it in that prime early summer spot. You know, I think they start. Okay. It's when they did. They didn't have it this year, so they put Westworld into that prime spot. But normally, Game of Thrones comes out. I want to say the first episode is sometime around May. It's around blockbuster season, so they do like May, June. There's about somewhere between, generally there's been 7 to 10 episodes or something like that, so it takes it takes 2 to 3 months if they take a week off somewhere in there. Anyway, I think it's May, June, July, something like that.
I miss it so much that I've kind of like turned my brain off to it, so I don't like feel the regret and the sadness of it not being in my life at the moment.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've just tried not to think about it because they leave you with such a cliffhanger that, what are you going to do? Speculate for 2 years straight? You kind of just have to let it go and just wait for it to reappear in your life.
You can, and the internet is. Like there are a lot of... I've been reading up on like fan theories of like what's going on, and some of them range from like, wow, you should be writing this show, to what are you smoking?
That's a pretty standard for the internet.
The internet can really pleasantly surprise me sometimes when I'm like, oh man, what could happen next in this amazing show? And then somebody's like, well, this, and I'm like, well, should you? I think you should call somebody.
No, that's funny.
Is this Mr. Spielberg on the line? I have somebody. There's a Booger Eater 22 here to talk to you, and boy, does he have some plans.
Well, I guess that we should probably save any speculation for when we kind of get towards the end of our review, but when we played a game a couple weeks back, it turns out that this is in fact both of our favorite TV series of all time.
Yeah, I know. So scandalous, so controversial.
So, yeah, I know, right? Like,
yeah, like, what's your favorite show? It's like Game of Thrones. I'm like, yeah, of course it is.
Well, that's just the thing. I think I said quality. Before, it's visually, it by far has the highest budget of any television series ever. So the sets that they can make, the costumes that they can make, the locations which they can shoot, the CG which they can implement, they are just by nature. I mean, yeah, you have to have people in charge who productively use that money, but they do have that advantage.
It's just it's just by its nature and by its popularity and by the channel that it happens to come out on. It's top of the, like, everything is of the highest quality.
But I mean, so much more than just that is the depth with which they've delved into the different cultures in these continents, So in the Seven Kingdoms, they have these 7+ distinctly different cultures and ways of living and ideals, and I think that is just fascinating that I don't even know, they have done a great job with it, but I guess really what we have to give most of the credit to is George R.R. Martin. I mean, he's the one who has just, like, partway through the books, there's just these deep dives into this person's family and this person's family and this person's family and the cultures and the intermixing, and so I mean, he's the one who really laid the groundwork for all of it. But
yeah, it's a fantastic he created a living, breathing world where you can discuss and speculate on the internal politics of all of those groups, those diverse groups that he's created, as in depth almost as you could talk about like today's world politics, and it's crazy that people have he's created such a thing that people can do that with his work, and he definitely should be applauded for that. I will, and I'm going to say, and I don't know if this is controversial or not, but it's how I feel. I think this is one of the few instances also where the show was better than the books.
That is difficult to say. I think one of the things about the books is that They are very, very long, and it's packed with. That's really hard. It kind of depends on what you really want to get out of something, because to make something so complex, you have to just describe and describe and describe and describe.
Right.
And
here's my take. I mean, my take on it is, Martin said it himself. He is an idea person, and he's not great at following through on things. And I can sort of see that because I've religiously read and reread the 5 books he's put out. And in the last 2, while they are objectively excellent, and this also falls into the realm of am I judging them harshly because of what I really think of them, or comparing them to what's come before? And that's always like a really tough distinction to make. But I personally think that the last 2 books stumble in a couple of spots. Like, he gets caught up in his own ambition to trying to create this world, which it was very streamlined in the first 3, and anything that was in there needed to be there. And he seemed to meander a little bit more in the last 2, and he created like paths that he ended up like leaving open-ended, never tying up loose ends, or he did tie them up, but he did it in like an abrupt sort of manner. It's like, why did you even go down that path? Because it really didn't do anything to the rest of the story. And some people could like argue, man, like that's how life goes. But from a narrative standpoint, I think the show has done an excellent job trimming the fat from some of from his two later books, and they've done a great job taking the groundwork that he laid and creating a story out of it, because it did get to the point where the show out the pacing of the books. And I personally don't know if the Winds of Winter is going to happen.
You don't know if it's going to ever happen?
I don't think he's going to write it, and I don't think he's going to write it. I don't think it's going to come out before he dies, personally.
Really?
I don't.
I mean, I think I've heard people say that before, but I never really took it like. I mean, I kind of saw it as like, well, like what if something happens? But I mean, if he literally just isn't gonna get through it, I don't know. But I mean, yeah, I guess we're grateful we have the show. A lot of people's first introduction to the world was through the show, not the books as well. I mean, I saw the show first, and I've read some of the books. I've read the first one, and I've read about half of the second one.
Oh.
So I haven't read all of them. Yeah,
the first 3, very, very good. How spoilery are we going to get into this episode?
I think that we're going to get 100% spoilery. I mean, pretty much anytime someone is listening to a podcast that has the subject, in the title for the Yancy Street Speakeasy, you're going to be aware that we're going to talk about everything. Like, this isn't a, hey, come check out a preview of this. It's like, hey, either you've already watched this, read it, played it, whatever, and you're here to talk about it, or you're never going to read it, watch it, play it, and you want to hear about it. So,
right. Yeah. So I guess we've been relatively vague from this point, but we're going to get way in depth with it. So if you followed us this far, what are you doing? Go watch the show. It's really good. I'm talking to you, Ashley. Damn it. You need to suffer like the rest of us. Watch the show.
Suffer? There's no suffering. Like this.
Suffering's an illusion.
Joy. Yeah.
Oh, it is. No, I mean, like, suffer with the waiting. So that was actually a shout out to my friend Ashley. She came to visit. She was actually one of my friends at Rasmus at University of Miami, and she came up. And she's working at the Lehigh Valley Zoo, which is about 2 hours from me. So we chilled this weekend. And she has never seen the show, but we've all been badgering her to get into it. And she's waiting to binge watch it all before the last season comes out. And we're trying to get her to watch it all now so we can talk to her about it, and so she can suffer through the last year of waiting like the rest of us have.
Well, yeah,
So-
I mean, it create the anticipation. That's what makes it. That's one of the things that makes it so good. Is like I really liked the first season, which I saw. I saw the whole first season after it came out, but before the second season came out. So, I think that, like I said, normally it comes out around May. I think I watched Game of Thrones in like August. So the whole season had released, but it had not been out very long. And
Yes.
so that's when I got on board. And I was in love from the first episode. The first episode I saw, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think objectively, the first season is my least favorite. Not to say that it's a bad season of television. It's fantastic. It's just it's not as quickly paced. They obviously didn't have as much of the budget they had at the time, and they just keep outdoing themselves with every single season. But the moment that stuck with me from season one, that like obviously is when Eddard Stark dies, because like that was the moment I was like, this show is not like other shows.
Yeah.
What the fuck just happened? What is happening to my world? Help.
So were you introduced to the show first as well?
I was introduced to it through the first season, and then I stopped. I put everything on hold. I bought all 5 books. I read all of them, reread all of them, and then continued watching.
That's a cool way to go about it. How old were you when that was?
So that was I watched the first season my senior year of undergrad, so that was 2016. Like winter 2016, I watched. Yeah, so like around Christmas time, I got my parents bought me the first disc set of season 1, and then we all watched it together, and we were all like, whoa. And then I bought all the books. I took a trip to Cuba. I read the first 2 while I was in Cuba, and then I came back, bought the next I bought the first 2, then I came back, bought the next 3, and then just went through them, and then I reread them so I could help my parents work through it, because that first season is a little tough to get through. It's packed full of that tasty meat of exposition and narrative of world building, and it's tough to wade through unless you've read the book. So I had to explain over and over who the characters were, and just give everybody nicknames so my dad could remember them. I was like, oh yeah, that's Drunk King Robert. Oh, that Robert. And stuff like that, like just trying to make it like digestible for my family. But then they got as into it as I am, and now we are all like sitting on our hand waiting for the next one to come out.
Well, when you introduce that many characters who are all essentially main characters, it's tough because you have to give them all screen time. You have to let people know who they are, like what is their personality. What is their
relationship with everyone else?
Yeah, and what happened in their life to sort of make them this way.
Yeah,
and you also are trying to...
Yeah, exactly. And not only having all these characters like on screen, but introducing this insane backstory and lore. So you have where it comes to the point where the characters that you've never seen on screen, or the characters that have died or they only talk about in passing, are as important as the characters that you see on screen every episode.
And I love what they did in the first season, where everything was so gritty that, when people talked about magic, it's like they introduced the White Walker in the very, very beginning, in the first scene, basically. And then
terrifying.
And then you don't see or hear anything from them for a while. And
like 2 seasons almost.
Yeah, and you kind of... After a couple episodes, you kind of fall into this world. It doesn't feel like a fantasy world. It feels like kind of like a historical fiction of medieval times. So you forget that there is magic in the world. And so when someone's like dismissive of it, you kind of believe that. And you really don't see magic. And the way they do it is not like say an incantation and cast a spell. It's like, it's a very...
It exacts a toll.
It exacts a toll, and it feels like... It feels mystical, I think. The magic almost feels mythological.
Yeah. Yes. I wouldn't say that it's like... It kind of toes that line between feeling grounded, almost like a science, and then but also being kind of like out there, and like you're in your mind, you're like, okay, this probably makes sense to somebody, but it doesn't make sense to me. But it's cool that it's there, and it's effective whenever it's used, and it's really cool how they link it to the reemergence of the dragons now that the dragons are back and growing in power than the magic that they lost for a long time, like back in the age of the Valyrians and all that good stuff. Now it's starting to reappear, and you have that whole showdown with the with that one sorcerer, with Daenerys and the sorcerer, when he captures her dragons.
Mm-hmm. And, and it's cool because like even his magic is there some people are so dismissive of it in a way that feels so natural. It's like when someone is dismissive, you kind of want to believe them, like this doesn't. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. There's magic.
The Westeros is like magic. That's just a fairy tale, or magic maybe used to exist, but we don't remember it, so it didn't happen. And then everybody else, like across the narrow sea, is like they have priests. They have like priests and priestesses. They have magic users. They have witches and sorcerers and stuff like that. And some of the stuff that they do might seem petty. Or it might be like blood magic, like that one lady does that causes her to have an abortion that puts her husband into a stupor. Yeah,
that is. Yeah. It's really interesting the way they do it. I like that they approach it without. It's not something that you master. Like there are not wizards who go around. There is no Merlin.
Right.
It's kind of like you all have all of the people who use magic. There are things that they can do. They can't do anything.
Yeah. Well, and I really like how they. I mean, like you say that, there are no Merlins going around, but you do have the hints, like inklings of these ancient civilizations of people that did have a better grasp on magic and the incredible empires they were able to build when they used it, when it was prevalent. And that's why I think the Valyrians are so interesting. I love fantasy worlds that have an ancient civilization that was like more technologically advanced somehow than the current one. I always think those are really cool because it adds like really interesting dynamics to the story.
I think one of the cool things to me is that the magic is so closely integrated with nature.
Right.
So one of the things about Harry Potter is that that's one thing that you really don't feel throughout a lot of it. It's very much like man is civilized and man controls magic, which is kind of separate from nature, and through that we control nature. Which is fun when you're telling in the way that the story is told, but this feels so much more visceral to me because magic is connected to nature, and the people who are the most connected to the magic are the most connected to nature. Like the children of the forest, they understood. They had a wisdom of the earth in a way that people now have forgotten, and I think that is kind of something that it's kind of the way that I saw it when I was younger. It's like what you said before, magic maybe used to exist, but it doesn't exist anymore, so who cares? And I feel like when you're a kid, that's kind of the way that you think about it. Like, at least I did. It's like, everyone knows magic doesn't exist, but maybe it did, and we just don't know it. We don't understand it anymore. And I think that there are, especially Western cultures, are a lot less in touch with nature than a lot of Eastern cultures. I mean, I know that's a generalization, but a lot of Eastern European and American cultures are not in touch with nature at all. I mean, they don't understand it. They, you know, it's not part of their daily life. There is a disconnect, and I think that you also lose a lot of spiritualism in that as well. And a lot of Eastern cultures, they spend more time in nature. It's more of a part of their daily life, and their spirituality comes from nature. And I think that this show and this world has done such a tremendous job of making that feel like taking that a step farther and making that spirituality become magic. I mean, you can see that the cultures of Westeros, most of them are not really super in touch with nature anymore. They're, especially as you get a little bit more, as you get closer to the city, as you get closer to the big city, as you get closer to King's Landing, things become more, you know, people are jam-packed and they're just trying to survive, and they're more concerned about, you know, status, they're more concerned about power, whereas, you know, a lot of them, you see the magic more in the north, because north is, it's wilderness, it's, you know, people live, even their homes are more, you know, exposed to nature.
Yeah, they're integrated into it rather than taking advantage of it. Exactly, and it reflects in their beliefs, because the North holds the old gods, which are very, like, that is the children of the forest, is very nature driven. They worship trees. It's an archaic, wondrous, magical feeling religion that you do find out is real. Because there are children of the forest, and there are old gods, and the weirwood trees are watching them, because they're the things through which Bran uses his third eye and everything. And then you get into the city, and you switch over to the rest of the world has.
Say hello. Say hi.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi. How are you, Claudia?
He says hi. All right, go on.
Yeah, and then you get into the cities. You get into the rest of Westeros worships the Seven, which feels very like, especially once it gets into the story arc with the Sparrows taking over the church, and then they fuse church and state. It starts to feel very much like how Catholicism, for sure. The Trinity takes over, and then the reemergence of the emergence of holy warriors and stuff like that. It starts to feel a little bit more like the Dark Ages on it, and everybody fights against that. So that religion inherently feels a bit more superficial, because it is centered in the capital and the busiest areas, and like the areas you were talking about, where it's people are more concerned about making their way rather than respecting what's around them.
Yeah, I think that anytime that a religion is more about population control than about spirituality, like a personal spirituality, I think that, you know, it basically starts to lose its magic, because all of a sudden you have all of these rules. And honestly, right. I think that foundation for basically the laws of physics that exist in this world is one of the reasons that it is my favorite show of all time, because you have some political intrigue and you have that stuff, but then you also get the stuff where you're like, well, it's all a waste of time. And it's kind of cool how they've shown us through seasons, like, you know, who has power, who has this influence, who's who, now who's married to who, and now none of it matters. And I really like that they've gotten to the point where anyone who's still clinging to that is kind of doomed, because
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting message to send after spending so much time going back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, and it's, yeah, and now we're at a point where all the worlds are colliding. Like, there's no separation anymore. All of the characters who've like never met each other before have existed in different ends of the planet or the continent. They finally have to interact with each other, and you're seeing this clash of cultures, clash of worlds.
I'm excited. So this is supposed to be the last season, correct?
Yeah, it is, and I understand why it's taking so, like, there's going to be 6 episodes, but each episode's going to be like an hour and a half plus. So they're basically making 6 small movies.
Wow, I am very excited for this.
Yeah,
I wish that it was a little bit closer, but what are you gonna do?
yeah, I know. I wish it was happening sooner. Like, I'm chomping at the bit. So, what did you think of, because season 7 was very controversial among hardcore Game of Thrones fans. What did you think of season 7?
Okay, so I've seen most of the seasons at least twice, but I think 6 and 7 I've only seen once, so I may need a refresher of exactly. I'm going to tell you about things that I'm going to talk about certain events, and you're going to tell me if that was part of season 6 or season 7. Okay.
Right.
So I think that the Battle of the Bastards was at the end of season 6. Is that right?
That is correct. Which was one of my favorite episodes of television of all time.
Oh my god, it was incredible, and I didn't like season 7 as much as I liked season 6 for a couple of reasons. The main thing about season 7 is that I felt like there was so much going on in the greater world that it felt okay. So let me make a comparison. There was I don't know if you've ever seen Dollhouse, the show that was done by Joss Whedon.
Oh, no, I haven't. I really want to.
Well, basically, it's kind of it. The first season is kind of slow moving. A lot of people got through it just because they were committed to other things that he had done really well. Like a lot of Buffy fans, a lot of Serenity and Firefly fans were really on board because of that. And so he got another primetime series. And the first season was it was interesting, but it wasn't like, it just wasn't incredible. And then season 2 was really, really good. And then in season 3, they found out that they were going to get canceled, but they had a little bit of time to try and finish the story as best they could before they were canceled, so that it wasn't just a random cliffhanger, like just cut off in the middle the way that it was with Firefly. And so season 2 was so good. And then season 3, it's like the pacing was just accelerated 1,000-fold to try and get everything to where they needed it to be. And that's kind of how I felt with what Game of Thrones season 7 was like. So
yeah,
season 6 was so good, following so many different characters. I mean, it was amazing with Bran's story arc. It was amazing with Tyrion's story arc. It was amazing with Daenerys' story arc. It was amazing with Arya's, with Jon Snow. Like, there were so many incredible things going on in separate places that season 7 kind of felt like the pacing of everyone's story is accelerated tenfold.
Yeah.
And the time that it seems to take to travel from city to city, which is one of the things that made it feel so real in the beginning. It feels like, it's like in the beginning of the episode, they're like, okay, we gotta go to Winterfell from King's Landing. And whereas that would take like a couple episodes to just even get there. It's like, okay, in season 7, okay, we need to get there. And then you cut to someone else. You cut to another person's story somewhere else, and then you cut back to Winterfell halfway through, and they're already there. So, yeah. I mean, maybe it wasn't literally that fast, but when you compare the two, it felt like that. So, you know, you kind of feel like you're messing with the physics of time a little bit, and I know that in theory it takes the same amount of time, but when you're changing the pace of the television, that like the pacing of the show that quickly, it feels like you're cheating a little bit. When you the amount of things that happened, the amount of different. I don't think I need to explain it anymore. But basically, I liked the story, but the pacing just didn't feel natural after what they had done, what they had built for 6 seasons.
Right. That's interest. That's an interesting take. I think that's a popular take. I agree to an extent. I think parts of it were really accelerated. I think it was weird because the pacing sped up so much, but also there were a couple of episodes where it felt like there was just like a little bit of padding for no reason. So I hesitate to say that the show would have benefited from more episodes, because I wonder what they would have filled the extra time with. But my biggest complaint with season 7 was that it started to get into the realm of more traditional fantasy, where Game of Thrones has always set itself apart by being so visceral, by having such a cynical outlook on things. And then this one felt more like buddy adventure time. And
yeah, you know, you're kind of right. They did it kind of. I can see what you're saying. Like for
it's a little fan servicey.
Yes, when Jon Snow takes his party into the north, that very much felt like okay, we're a Dungeons and Dragons party and we're all going up there together and we're all gonna fight the monsters.
Exactly.
And it very much was not like that in the past. It felt so real. Like, you guys are together for this reason, for this real world reason. You guys are together for this real world reason. Are you a group of warriors all together? No, mostly no. Like, there's a few of you that are. There's a few of you that are not warriors at all. There are a few, you know. Yeah. And this is why you're here. And it kind of was like someone was like definitely a big fan was like, hey, what if Jon Snow and oh shit, like, it's been so long now that I'm starting to I'm grasping at names. What if Jon Snow and Tormund Giantsbane and the Onion Knight and Robert's Bastard all fought together at the same time. How cool! Yeah, what if they all fought together at the same time? How cool would, you know what I mean? So it's kind of and the Hound. What if they all got together? You know, it just it kind of was like, okay, cool, yes, but unnatural as well. Yeah, and I have this. Yeah, that's the thing, is I have that same reaction. I'm like, those scenes when that happened, like the part of my brain that's just fanboying, like, just like, oh my god, this is so cool, I can go fight things, this is the best, oh, I love this. And then the other part of me is like, this isn't Game of Thrones though. Like, I don't know, like, it's just Game of Thrones is a master at subverting our expectations by doing, and that kind of nailed all the expectations stuff. Yeah. And the same thing with the romance between Jon Snow, and it's like, I thought that they would never, like, people have been shipping them since season 1, episode 1, and I kind of never expected them to actually get there. But sure enough, from the first moment they introduced them to each other in season 7, we all knew it was going to happen.
So I'm going to get into the realm of the conspiracy theories and the fan theories of like what's going to happen, because here's one thing that I think, because the showrunners are so good at what they do. Like, I don't see them like either they just like were like letting the fans blow off a little steam from all of the tragedy and just having a little bit of a more fun season, because the season was fantastic. Like I'm being too hard on it. It was really good. The episodes were great. Like, they had these amazing massive set pieces, and I was just like yelling.
The one thing that they did that blew away the other seasons were the battle scenes. I mean, like, I don't want to say blew away, because the Battle of the Bastards was that hour and 20 minutes of television was perfection, but in terms of like getting close to the quality of like Lord of the Rings war scenes, they did more. I think one of the things is that the Battle of the Bastards episode was just so perfect from start to finish, but and it, I don't know, it's tough, but the you know what, forget it, I can't even say, because season 6 had my favorite battle scenes anyway. It really did, because season 6 had the evacuations. It had the battle and evacuation of the wildlings as well. Like, that was the best season.
Yeah. Oh yeah, hands down. But season 7 did give us some incredible. Like, season 7 gave us Daenerys mowing down the Lannister army.
Oh yeah, we did get to see the dragons in action. I
thought
cool.
That was probably the best episode of the season, where it just ended in such a perfect way, where like Jaime's just like, oh my fucking god, those dragons, and what was her army? He saw the Dothraki screamers for the first time, and he's like, we are hopelessly, hilariously outmatched, and you see him like he's like, fuck it all, like I'm gonna try to it's the dragon. And then Bronn saving him and everything. I mean, that episode's just like really great. Like, just letting the characters bounce off each other. Tyrion sees his brother for the first time in years. It's just really, really emotional.
That was the best episode for sure.
Yeah, I love that episode. I did the scene where they did the little traipse into the north and they got stuck on the island, and was pretty cool. I thought it was fitting that what's his face died, the Red Priest.
What's his name again?
Because Dondarrion's the dude with the eye patch they kept bringing back. He's
Beric
Dondarrion
is
I can't remember his name.
Neither do I, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. So he was done, and he like died from like felt like a realistic thing, and I'm like, yeah, that's too risky of a thing. Like, you have to have at least somebody die. It was cool and fan servicey, and I was like yeah, fuck yeah, the entire time, but it didn't seem like a necessary thing to happen, except for the loss of the dragon, which hurt. Like, that hurt.
Oh yeah, that was
much.
So cool. That was so cool, and I wasn't really expecting it necessarily, but that was a way that they kind of subverted expectations for me. Like, there was tension, like, what if a dragon dies, and then it didn't hit me right away that that's what was going to happen, and I can't remember it at some point, but all of a sudden I just kind of realized that that's what they were going to do, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, that evened out like the silliness of the D&D adventure fantasy scenario in the first place, and I was like, oh god, there are consequences to life, and that was just great. And then pulling him out of the water and making him alive, and then him burning down the wall at the very end of the season. Holy shit!
Yeah.
So I feel like there are going to be like for some of the like more fantasy, like sillier elements, less gritty, cynical elements of this season. I feel like there will be severe consequences in the final season. I feel like they are going to do. They're gonna take it like completely in the other direction, like what we're thinking. I personally think either Jon or Daenerys are going to kill each other. Like neither can live while the other survives situation for like the rule of the throne, because I love Daenerys, but she's definitely like don't need no man sort of deal. And I just think something's going to happen that's going to pit the two of them against each other, because there's got to be some greater message that happens in this final season. Like the fight with the White Walkers is going to happen, but it's Game of Thrones. It can't be that simple.
Yeah.
And I'm if it's just that, I will be happy, but I'll be happy, but I'll be like slightly on a very kind of back burner sort of level, a little disappointed because I've come to expect more of the show. What I'm expecting is some sort of revelation is going to happen where you realize that the White Walkers, like, because right now they're the only faction that you can sort of point a finger at and be like, they're the bad guys, they're the evil ones. And it's just weird that a show like this that has like a million layers to each character would create such a one-dimensional bad guy. And I'm thinking,
yes, there's got to be something
that like makes the sympathetic character or shows that nations are actually working for good or something like that. And there's gonna have to be something that's gonna like pit people against each other. That's what I think is gonna happen.
I don't know if they'll be
bombshell
working for good, but I think I can see.
Yeah, like maybe not like lawful, like maybe not like neutral good, but like like lawful neutral or something like that. Like they're doing what needs to be done. Some sort of amoral.
I don't know. It's so hard. It's so hard to speculate on. Like, you know, it's so much easier to speculate on what happens next than to speculate on how does it all end. Because that's just... There's so much to bring full circle if you really want to do it right. I mean, I think that we're definitely going to have... I think they're probably going to do something like kill off Tyrion Lannister. I think they're probably going to... I think we're going to get a lot of deaths. A lot of deaths.
Yeah. I think I'm almost positive Jon Snow is going to eat it.
But I think the thing is, though, that we're going to have to find out more about the Lord of Light, because we really don't know anything about him, but he definitely...
I don't know what to think of the Lord of Light.
That presence definitely has something to do with the power of the dragons. You know, I mean, the whole thing is called the Song of Fire and Ice. So there has got to be some some sort of answer to that. So I don't, and I think the Lord of Light wants Jon Snow alive in the same way that he wanted Beric Dondarrion alive. So I don't think you just say, well, now he's not there anymore. So I don't know. I mean,
well, also there was mention in an earlier season, and it's come up a few times. Basically, in the Lord of Light is like, there is some scripture that or some prophet that says that he's supposed to have like a Messiah, like there's supposed to be like a warrior that represents the Lord of Light. I have a crazy theory that Sandor Clegane, like the Hound, is going to be that person, because it wasn't specifically shown that he got resurrected from the dead, but he was dead. Like he was like when Arya left him after he'd been bested by Brienne. Like there's no there's no biological reason why he should still be alive. I think he might have, whether he knows it or not, I think he might have been resurrected by a red priest. And that's why when he shows up and everybody's like, what the fuck? Because I think the Lord of Light has
he also has
for
been
him.
touched by fire when he was young as well.
And it would bring like a beautiful kind of
I know, and
symmetry
he's
to his
afraid
life.
of it.
With his,
Ironic.
yeah, he would bring a beautiful symmetry to his life. Because here's what I think. I think the story is that how he got those burns. I think that because you know how all of the Lord of Light's disciples can see things in the fire.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Here's one of my theories. I think that like the story of him getting his burns is that he stole his brother's toy and then the mountain put his face in the flames. Mm-hmm. I think that he's always had a gift of foresight, like by the Lord of Light, because he was one of Lord of Light's chosen ones, and he saw in the flames himself killing his brother. And he told the mountain, I just saw a vision of me killing you. And then the mountain tried to kill him. But his like dad came in and broke it up or something.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Or he's always been haunted by it because he could see something in the fire while his face was in it as well.
Oh yeah, that too.
That's possible. Because yeah, that's interesting. I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with it all. If it was just a single protagonist, it would be so much easier to speculate. But how do you round off every single character? You know, there's so many.
And how do you flesh out the Lord of Light? Because it's just such a. I have no idea what the Lord of Light is and like what his relationship is or her relationship is to the old gods and the children of the forest, and it's just really confusing rhetoric right now to me.
Yes, very much so. I mean, I don't even know. I do not even know.
Yeah. So those are just a couple of my cool conspiracies. I'm so excited for season 8. I kind of want to grab lunch soon. I don't want to cut this short, but I'm very hungry, and I think my dad's gonna want help with me outside pretty soon. Okay,
then I guess let's play our little game.
Yeah. And we're gonna do an improv sentence where one of us starts, and we're just gonna like one word it until we create a sentence, and we're just gonna try to.
It's not just a sentence. This is a
story,
a podcast about narrative. So this has to be some kind of narrative. It's not just a sentence.
Okay. And I'm gonna try my best to derail where his sentence is going. So, all right, I'm gonna let you start with the first word.
In
the
forest
of
Norway,
I
once
found
a
child
who
emanated
purple
light. Period.
And
so, yeah,
okay. I
picked
him
up
and
held
his
hand
against
my
face, comma,
and
it
glowed
with
pulsing
warmth. Period.
Later,
I
noticed
that
we
forgot
to
bring
the
child
home. Period.
So
I
went
to
the
store
to
buy
some
lunch meat.
It's two
Period.
words.
Just like forgot about the kid. Oh man, I love that kid in the forest, but man, am I hungry. Salami sounds good right now.
The
Child.
called
My
cellular,
device.
but
I.
ignored.
Period. This is just a story of not being neglect.
Instead,
I
made sandwich
with
pita
bread. Period.
and
Oh,
I
later
was
napping
and
heard
at
the
window
a
voice
period. I
how come you get to decide where all the periods are?
this is my idea for a game. Fuck you.
I opened
The
curtains,
and
saw
the
child,
and
he
looked
at
me
with
big
sandwich
eyes. Period.
I
Opened
a
sandwich.
bag
And
removed
some
crumbs
and
threw
them
out
the
window.
period. The
Child
looked
at
me
and
shrugged.
so
So I
closed
the
curtains
and
went
to
sleep.
period.
Okay, good story.
Good story. We are masters of our craft. just like found this kid pulsing with full energy. We're just like, oh, we have a connection here.
Accidentally forgot him there.
Where's the kid? Oh man, I want to sandwich. He shows up and we just like throw crumbs at his face and leave.
Oh, good story.
That was a great story.
Okay.
Oh man.
All right, so my
well-
wife just made some eggs and bread, so I think I'm gonna go eat that while you eat whatever it is that you're gonna eat.
Okay, sounds good.
And,
I think I'm gonna have some. I'm actually gonna have a sandwich. I'm hungry for
If you see a
sandwiches.
kid, throw some crumbs out the window.
He'll appreciate it.
All
Especially
right.
if he's a matchable kid. Yeah, let's plug ourselves one more time and then leave these beautiful people to their devices.
Okay, maybe our show should just be the games because those are the most fun by far.
That one's a fucking blast. We have to do that one again.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna get a repeat. Okay, so
Yeah.
you can find us at maxdean.org. You can listen to the NC Street Speakeasy on iTunes or Spotify. You can contact us at maxwelldean@maxdean.org. And you can also get in touch with us via Twitter at Yancy Street Pod or on Facebook at the Yancy Street Speakeasy.
And my Instagram, once again, is Viva La Frank with a 3. And I'll be posting Yancy Street updates as well as original artwork and and then also updates from the projects, other artistic projects that Max and I have going on. Once again, Viva La Frank with a 3 at the end.
The other projects have been on a little bit of a hiatus right now. I'm just grateful that I can still do the podcast. That's the
same.
one thing that we're working on right now. And then in the
Yep.
future, hopefully, we'll be able to reignite some of the other stuff. But cool.
Yep.
All right, guys. Have a nice day. And
Yep. Eat some sandwiches.
Yep. Eat some sandwiches. And
Hug
don't forget to
purple
save your
children.
crumbs for children in the forest.
Yes.